When I go out, I don't wear a mask, of course, although I do have a rather snazzy Zorro mask, which I can wear if requested. I don't follow those this way round signs either. Indeed, I never see them. The other day I was asked if I thought the one-way system in a local supermarket was easy to follow. I don't follow them, of course, not since I got shouted at by an apprentice Nazi stormtrooper who happened to be in a shop. I had to admit that I hadn't even seen any signs. Apparently they're all pasted on the floor. But who, apart from some cheapskate looking for dropped coins, walks around looking at the floor all the time? And I don't do social distancing because it's stupid and about as necessary as doing the can-can in public, which I've always tried to avoid since an unfortunate experience I had in Birmingham in 1964, which will now doubtless appear on Wikipedia now that I've mentioned it. Almost inevitably, I get the frosty looks from the morons wearing masks. They stare at you, goggle-eyed and disapproving, and so I always grin back like an idiot. If they don't look away, then I give them my best 1,000-yard stare, and they usually hurry off. But I'm having more and more trouble with the cretins who are following social distancing rules. Earlier in the week, I was about to enter a department store which had decided to open, and a woman at the door, an employee, stopped to give me instructions about how and where I could go and so on. And she told me they were following strict 6'6" social distancing rules, which was in operation at the time. She said 2 meters, of course, but I don't do foreign stuff like meters. You're not 6 feet away, I pointed out, since she was about 2 feet away at the time. The look of horror on her face was a wonder. She leapt backwards and very nearly went through the plate glass window. I thought she'd done this in jest, but I was assured she'd done it in earnest. And today I was merrily wandering along in the garden centre when a woman coming towards me did an amazing leap to her right. I swear she leapt 4 feet in one bound. When they introduce an event for social distancing leaps in the Olympics, which they no doubt will, she'll get the gold, silver and bronze medals easily. I used to be sympathetic and understanding towards these people, but I've decided I've had enough. I'm fed up with the sanctimonious, empty-headed idiots who say, oh, it's a bit far-fetched thinking this is all about compulsory jabs or population control or a cashless society or getting rid of the elderly. And the ones who say, oh, I know the politicians and that nice Master Ferguson have made a few mistakes, but they all mean well. What do they think Bill Gates and Prince Charles are talking about when they and the rest of the World Economic Forum sneer and brag about a global reset of the economy, healthcare and everything else important? What's Soros planning? In simpler times there were just 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Today there's a cavalry regiment of them, lining up to inject us and suck us dry of our very humanity. And I'm fed up with the 12-year-old self-styled fact-checkers who say that claims about Gates and needles are all wrong. There are widespread claims, for example, that 496,000 children might have been paralysed in India from the polio jabs from Bill Gates's lot. It's no stretch for me to claim that Pablo Escobar did far more good for the world than Bill Gates will ever do. If and when Gates dies, I think they'll have to drive a stake through the bastard's heart, but they'll have to find his heart first. The World Health Organization, which is partly funded by Gates, of course, as is just about everything else, including the BBC and that pompous, sanctimonious, hypocritical newspaper, The Guardian, which was founded on money from slavery, let us not forget, has allegedly admitted that the global polio expansion is predominantly explosion is predominantly the Gates strain of polio. By 2018, 3/4 of the global polio cases were alleged to be derived from the Gates stuff. Indian government investigators claimed that Gates's people were guilty of pervasive ethical violations, including bullying, forging consent forms, and other bad stuff. Yards of it. But fact-checkers say that these claims are all untrue because the Gates Foundation has debunked the claim. To me, that's a bit like saying Stalin didn't kill anyone because Stalin said he didn't. and it's the standard way that amateur fact-checkers seem to work. They go straight to Gates or one of his paid-for organisations or publications, and they think that's fact-checking. Children, fact-checking means going back to source. Talking of amateurs reminds me of Wikipedia, where the entry with my name on it was changed dramatically and beyond recognition the day I recorded my first video. Anything notable was removed and some really old, odd stuff was inserted. For example, I'm said to have been banned, or at least I was, I haven't looked at Wikipedia for ages, but I was said to have been banned by an organisation called the Advertising Standards Authority. Well, the ASA is a private organisation, largely funded by big advertisers, which can't ban anyone from anything, and which has itself been reported to the Office of Fair Trading. Decades ago, the meat trade complained to the ASA about an advert for a book of mine which proved that meat causes cancer. I offered the Advertising Standards Authority 26 scientific papers proving that eating meat causes cancer. The ASA refused to look at any of the scientific papers and simply found for the complainant, the meat trade. It is, of course, just a coincidence that the meat trade buys a lot of advertising one way or another. Exactly the same thing with another non-statutory organisation, now long gone, called the Press Complaints Commission. They refused to look at the papers too. Details of some of the scientific papers which the Advertising Standards Authority refused to look at are on my website. Incidentally, I wish the Wikipedia editor who keeps writing to me offering to improve the page for a hefty fee would stop bothering me. It would be a good scam though, wouldn't it? Wikipedia is edited by amateurs, of course, but they could make quite a lot of money. If one editor demonised me on the page and then another editor put back my achievements or whatever and charges me 500 quid for it. And then all the really bad stuff could be put back again. The silly nonsense could be put back. I wouldn't bet against there being some Wikipedia editors making a good living out of doing that. A pair of editors who were pals could do really well. Now that I know how it could work, I never use Wikipedia at all. In my experience, it seems far too easy for editors with a personal grudge to make changes to damage a reputation, and living individuals aren't allowed to correct errors or misleading material on the page with their name. Another claim about Gates is that his foundation arranged for people to be given tetanus jabs laced with human chorionic gonadotrophin to stop them getting pregnant. It's said it was part of a population control plan. Reducing the population is, of course, one of Gates's pet projects. The laced stuff was found in Mexico, Nicaragua and the Philippines, and the project was funded by two Gates-funded organisations, the World Health Organization and the World Bank. And if the fact-checkers are interested, they should just look at the National Library of Medicine in the United States. Incidentally, suspicions about these jabs, organised by the population control people at the Gates Foundation, were allegedly aroused when the anti-tetanus campaign was apparently promoted only to women of childbearing age and excluded men and children. I wonder why anyone found that a bit suspicious. Gates, who has medical qualifications like I'm a nuclear physicist, reckons that jabbing people stops them having more children and will reduce the world population. The theory is that they have 2 or 3 children living, then they'll stop having any more. I don't really see how this would reduce the global population, but Gates said it would, and so half the world's press merrily prints it and say how clever he is to know this. Gates is so rich he didn't need to go to medical school. He just made loads of money flogging software and appointed himself the world's most important doctor. I think it's the mask-wearing, social distancing zombies who are helping to wreck our lives as much as all these people doing things. By putting up with the garbage dribbling out of the mouths of the idiot Hancock, for example, they're encouraging the nonsense and making things worse. In the UK, it's the school teachers refusing to go to work, even though everyone with a bit of brain tissue knows that the biggest danger they'll face will be falling off their bicycles or puncturing a finger while buckling up their sandals. A statistician has worked out that the risk of a child under 15 dying from the coronavirus is 1 in 5.3 million. Even teachers admit that the rules are to protect them rather than the children, but they don't seem to have read the evidence showing that adults don't seem to catch the bug from children. Research published by the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health found that children under the age of 10 do not transmit the virus. A joint commission by the World Health Organization and China couldn't find one case in the entire solar system of a child under 10 infecting an adult. If they're really worried, however, why not put plastic screens around the teachers? Millions of children are going to be permanently damaged in every conceivable way because of these school closures and the restrictions. There's absolutely no reason for schools to be closed. Mind you, it's not just the teachers who want to keep schools closed. A poll showed that only 36% of the population thought it was safe for schools to open on 1st of June. And so 64% of the population seemed to me to be completely moronic. Worse still, 22% don't think it'll be safe for schools to open in September. One possible conclusion is that none of those people should be allowed to vote, drive motor cars or leave their homes without adult supervision. But there is another possible interpretation. Maybe all those who want to keep our schools closed realise that teaching has deteriorated so much that children are better off staying at home. For years now, children have been indoctrinated rather than taught. They've been told about the bureaucratic wonders of the fascist EU superstate and force-fed all sorts of pseudo-scientific garbage about global warming. Like so many geese being fattened up, pupils are filled with bizarre sex education studies, and history teaching appears to have been designed to replace all the truths with politically correct dogmas. If schools are going to stick to absurd, cruel and damaging social distancing nonsenses, then maybe parents will want to homeschool their offspring, and who can blame them? Maybe we'd all be better off if schools stayed closed permanently. I'm fed up with demonstrators wearing masks while they're doing it, apparently not realising that the mask is today a sign of slavery to a corrupt system. The funny thing is that it used to be illegal to wear a mask while you were in a demonstration because it made it difficult for the police cameras. I dare say some of today's demonstrators wear their masks as a disguise, but why bother? The police don't care, because although the demonstrators don't realise it, the demonstrations suit the government's sinister purposes. The evidence proving that mask wearing is pointless just grows and grows. The New England Journal of Medicine recently published an article concluding that, open quotes, "We know that wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection," close quotes, and, open quotes, "in many ways, the desire for widespread masking is a reflexive reaction to anxiety," close quotes. In other words, people are wearing masks because they're ignorant and stupid. I suggest that all those 8-year-olds writing "it's fake news" websites for their paymasters might consider learning how to do proper research before sharing their brainless opinions with the rest of the world. And what about spectacle wearers? They often find that their lenses steam up when they're wearing a mask. That'll be handy for motorists and bus drivers. Talking of fake news invariably reminds me of the BBC, where I've just seen a headline which reads, "Coronavirus, social media spreading virus conspiracy theories." I fell out of my chair laughing when I saw that. Has anyone at the BBC ever heard of black pots and black kettles? The one jolly fact that the BBC has produced was that there have been just 3.5 million visitors to the widely promoted and undoubtedly expensively advertised websites run by the NHS and the UK government. This modest number of visitors seems to prove that no one trusts the government or the NHS about anything these days. I'm fed up too with banks taking advantage of this fake crisis to try to force us to use internet banking. When things go wrong and your money's stolen, they'll turn the other way, of course, and it'll all be your fault. Why are banks still only working part-time when zoos and hairdressers are going to be able to open? Hairdressers have to get a damn sight closer to their customers than bank tellers. This 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. nonsense couldn't possibly be to force us to go online, could it? So that they can say no one's using their high street branches, so they might as well close them. Surely the banks wouldn't be taking advantage of this manufactured crisis to cut their costs and force us along their route to a cashless society. The fact is that you'd have to be half-witted to think that this so-called crisis was anything other than a conspiracy. As I've been screaming for months, our lives are being destroyed not by a pesky virus, but by the absurd and quite deliberate overreaction to it. They need to keep us terrified so that we're wound up nice and tight when they're ready to tell us that the jabby thing is ready. By then, the zombies will be on both knees, begging to be injected with something, anything. The zombie leaders of the medical establishment are apparently now warning of a second wave. Since the medical establishment warned that we'd all be dead of AIDS by the year 2000, I think we can safely ignore them. I got into terrible trouble by arguing with them and saying that the AIDS risk wasn't going to kill everybody. The unthinking, unseeing zombies are making things worse by helping crooked governments and stupid scientists destroy our lives. So in future, I'm going to take a proactive role in my dealings with the zombies. I intend to carry a bell with me, and if they leap to one side, I'll follow them, shouting, "Unclean, unclean," until they race away in terror. I've decided to wage war on the zombies. I'm fed up with being understanding and sympathetic. They're too bloody stupid for words, and it's partly their fault that our lives are so miserable. Without the compliant zombies, we wouldn't be living in an upside-down world. And why would anyone want to live the way the zombies are content to live? It isn't living, it's enduring. The coronavirus, as you all know, is no more dangerous than the flu. That's been my opinion since this whole fiasco started. But I'm not alone in thinking that. Here's another scientific paper I found in the New England Journal of Medicine, which is, unlike many medical journals, magazines and newspapers, very decently making all its COVID-19 articles freely available. The paper's called COVID-19, Navigating the Uncharted, and one of the three authors is Dr. Anthony S. Fauci. The paper was published on March the 26th. The authors conclude the overall clinical consequences of COVID-19 may ultimately be more akin to those of a severe seasonal influenza, and they point out that they're talking about a type of influenza which has a case fatality of approximately 0.1%. The significance of that paper is, of course, that Dr. Anthony Fauci is one of the lead members of the Trump administration's White House coronavirus task force. He's the doctor usually seen on TV alongside Trump. So how's YouTube going to take this one down? I'm just saying the same thing as Trump's chief advisor. Nothing in the scientific journals could have changed that point of view. Indeed, the statistics prove that it was an accurate prediction. Fauci's attitude since he wrote that paper has been puzzling, to say the least, but his paper in the New England Journal of Medicine is there for anyone to read. I don't mind betting that the Daily Mail and the BBC missed that paper. It was a proper scientific paper in a proper scientific journal, and so the juvenile fact-checkers would have missed it too. And there were some long words in it, so no one at the BBC would have been able to understand it. So here's my message for the day. Next time you see a zombie in a mask or social distancing, treat them like the buffoons and half-wits they are. Laugh at them, boo them, or in some way embarrass them, because through their ignorance and their stupidity, they're helping to destroy everything that's valuable in our world. The zombies are enabling the deceitful bullies who are, I believe, destroying our society for their own gain. The empty-headed zombies are endorsing the malicious wickedness which will result in millions of deaths and appalling poverty for decades. The time's gone for patience, sympathy and understanding. The zombies are our enemies as much as the people pulling the strings. Thank you for watching An All-Mannered Chair, and thank you for all your support and encouragement. Please copy and paste the videos on Twitter and Facebook, from which I'm banned, and on BitChute and other platforms. Let's spread the truth. If you'd like to put on a translation, that would be great. If my videos disappear, then please go to my website to find out where you can see them. The transcripts of all my videos, including all the banned ones, always on my website, www.vernoncoleman.com. If you do visit mainstream media, please put on a message asking the other readers there to watch these videos to find the truth. If all the people watching these videos help 1 or 2 people a week to see the light, then the whole nonsense will be over very soon. This channel has not been monetized, I haven't authorized any ads, and there's no sponsorship. If you'd like to see more videos from me, then please subscribe to my channel, because they're not always easy to find. Although it may feel like it at some times, please remember, you're not on your own. More and more people are waking up, and I firmly believe that together we will win this fight. And remember, distrust the government, avoid mass media, fight the lies. Thank you for watching.